The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
What's up, besties? This is 40 of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes, and I'm still the second part of that title. I hope you're doing well with this whole issue that's been going on with the coronavirus and having to be quarantined and things like that. This quarantine has really got me to think a lot about the world and a lot about how we treat people. And something that I was thinking about is that this is the first time since I've been alive, and probably you as well, the listener, have been alive, where the entire world is going through exactly what we're going through right now. And there's something so unique about that. I truly think that we're being almost forced to understand the importance of people and the importance of our friends. So at the top of this episode, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to the nurses, the doctors, the delivery drivers, the grocery store clerks. At the end of the day, man, a lot of these people, they are doing their job, but right now they're saints, because in all reality, we don't deserve for these grocery stores to be open. We don't deserve for Postmates to be delivering to us. We don't deserve our Amazon package to show up 2 hours after we ordered it. But these people are making sure that these things happen. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Another thing that's been really tough is just as an artist, it's really difficult to perform. And I also just want to take this time to say, if you have an artist that you want to support them now. Now is the time that they need the most support. Now, I'm not saying that you should support me. If you want to support me, that is amazing, and I really appreciate you. At the end of the day, you're here right now, and I thank you so much, and I love you for listening to this. But support artists, support singers, support musicians, support comedians, support absolutely everybody that you possibly can, even if it's just sending them a DM on Instagram and reminding them how much you appreciate them and how much you love them. Because now is a time that we need to do these kinds of things. And look, if you want to support me, you can just support me by listening to this podcast, telling people to listen to the podcast. If you want to help out by using the promo code on whatever it is that we're promoting this week, please, by all means, do. But I want you to do that because you're trying to help yourself out and not really because you're trying to help me out. You're already supporting me by listening to this. Just tell your friends to listen and subscribe. Write a review on iTunes, give us 5 stars, say something nice. That really helps us get up to the new and noteworthy page, which would be amazing for us. Listen to my album, Dreamer, by Mike Valdes and the Noise. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to music. But truly, you have done the biggest thing, which is the fact that you're listening right now. So thank you for that. I appreciate you and I love you. And I just want to let you know we're going to be okay. And that's why I'm going to sing Imagine by John Lennon. I'm kidding. I'm not going to sing that song. Moving on to the episode. Today's episode is Shayne Long. Shayne is a singer-songwriter as well as a photographer. He has a project coming out in the summer called The First 4 Years, and you can listen to his first 2 singles, Colorado and Asleep Under Franz, on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to music. This is such a silly episode. We laugh so much. We talk all about the embarrassing early bands that we were in growing up. We also talk about a whole bunch of childhood nostalgia, and I truly think you guys are going to love this episode. So without further ado, please enjoy Shayne Long. The thing that I definitely remember from talking to you was, I was like, hey man, were you ever like forbidden from eating certain foods or anything? And you were like, no.
Never.
And I was like, that's my life. Like 100%. Yeah. I wasn't allowed to eat anything unless I went to freaking Bobby's house or something.
My house would have been Bobby's house.
That's Cool Shayne. Cool Shayne's house.
Yeah, Cool Shayne's house. They let me eat anything I want.
They let me eat all the Hostess I want, and they have Aladdin on Sega Genesis.
There's no bedtime. We could be out on the corner.
Yes.
Selling fruit snacks, and they would not care.
I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. Well, we started. So, hey everybody, this is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Hey guys, guess what? I'm Mike Valdes, and today I have an awesome guest with me. I haven't seen him in so long, and I'm so happy that we get to talk again. He's still alive, by the way, but Shayne Long.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, we're in the midst of this virus thing that's happening right now, which by the time this comes out, we might even be laughing at the fact that I'm even bringing it up.
Self-quarantined.
Yes, we're self-quarantined.
Or it could go the other direction.
Yeah,
and this could become like a radio show that people tune into.
Yeah,
and we can't get out of the house.
Yeah, this is the quarantine episode for sure. It really is. Dun. It has to be. The first thing we like to do here at Childlike at Best, you know this, Shayne. The first thing we like to do is we like to take a Flintstones vitamin.
Yep.
So I have these Flintstones complete gummies there for you, and you can open them up, let the audience know which flavor or which person you have, or which flavor of person.
It's the baby.
Pebbles.
I think. At first, yeah, it's Pebbles.
Yeah, there you go.
Orange Pebbles.
Nice.
Now that jar of gummies has been desanitized, and all the other people that have done the podcast haven't touched it, right?
No. And it's also not PCP. Anyway.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Man.
We call it Childlike at Best because we see all the cartoons from our childhood in real life.
It's true.
Now,
that's true.
Why is Mickey Mouse sitting there?
don't look him in the eyes.
Well, I'm just wondering, why is he giving Leonardo from Teenage Ninja Turtles a blowjob right now? And he's like, whoa, dude.
Turtle time.
It's turtle time, dude. Oh, my gosh. Well, that's the name of the episode. As you're taking that in, can you please let our audience know where you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in Hollywood, Florida, then moved immediately to Central Florida, DeLand primarily. Lived there till I was about 8, and then we all moved back here to Davie. That's where we're actually at now.
Yeah.
I was in Davie from the age of 8 until 30, and I just recently moved to the Treasure Coast.
Yeah.
Up to Sebastian. Me and my wife just moved up there, and that was in December.
Sebastian, Florida, where the seaweed is always greener in somebody else's lake.
Very accurate.
Oh, man. That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, man.
And so where we're at right now is your childhood home.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Born and raised.
And also, just so people know, we're at your grandfather's office. I feel like I'm in a 70s mafia movie where they cut to the police department and it's just the sheriff.
If somebody were to look in right
sweating.
now, it looks like we're like wiretapping somebody.
Yeah.
And we're in the back room. And they cut to us, and, and they're like, "Hey, have you heard anything?" And we're like, "Not now,
not right now, man. I think I got it. I got something here.
And they're just on the other side of the wall.
Yeah,
it's a prostitution ring.
Yeah,
happening.
that's what I feel like I'm in right now.
Yeah.
What kind of kid would you say that you were growing up? Like, who did you sit with at the lunch table? That kind of thing.
Oh man.
And you can kind of jump around ages if you'd like, because we change a lot when we grow up.
When I was little, I was super introverted. Usually only 2 or 3 like close friends.
Yeah.
When I was like 5th grade or 5 years old, 6 years old. And then found sports, started playing baseball at the age of 6. Got really into that, football, basketball. So that kind of broadens your spectrum
of course, yeah.
Of friendships and relationships. So then at school, you start seeing kids that are on your team or you've played against, so you kind of begin to branch out a little bit in that sense. So probably through my elementary years, I would say I was pretty involved, had a lot of friendships and relationships. I went to Sheridan Hills Elementary School until 5th grade, and then 6th grade went to Hollywood Christian.
Yeah.
So 6th grade was a tough year. Going into middle school, new school.
Yeah, I had the same thing.
Super isolated.
Yeah.
Maybe like one. I actually had my best friend was 2 girls, Nancy and
Drew.
And Drew.
They were both detectives.
That's why we're here now doing this wiretapping.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, they were like really good friends in 6th grade with me. It was kind of weird because but it was almost like before like any we're interested in girls really.
Yeah.
So it was really innocent. And then immediately in like 7th grade, I ditched them. And I've always felt kind of terrible about it, but it was like,
and I'd like to apologize right now.
I'd like to apologize to Nancy and Christina if you're listening. I immediately ditched the relationship and the friendship because you start hearing like the rumblings, like, hey, it's kind of weird. They're kind of strange. Or the reason I was drawn to them is because I was into writing, like short stories and fiction, and they were really into that too. So we kind of got together on that. But then it was kind of like I had a decision to make. Am I going to be that guy?
You know what's great?
And I feel like a douchebag right now.
To give them some credit, they probably grew up to be awesome people.
Oh yeah, I saw Nancy maybe 2 years ago in Target. She was great. Christina,
hang on. Was she working at Target?
No. Yeah, she was in the fiction aisle.
She's there in the fiction aisle, writing books and putting them on the shelf.
Like, Nancy? And she's like, huh?
That's amazing.
No, I made the decision because that first year is like very instrumental in how the rest of your life is going to play out, basically. And I just began to develop other friendships and kind of just grew apart from them. And I didn't drop them like in a bad way. It was just kind of like I got more into like the school life and more.
Yeah.
Started skating and
I get it. When you do put it like that, it is very having friends in high school, especially that young, is very cutthroat.
Oh yeah.
Like you make decisions pretty much on a weekly basis on who your friends are.
For sure.
And until you find the right
group
fit, and then you're like, these are the people, and that's it. But I totally get what you mean. It's just funny talking about it now as adults because you realize like that's not the right thing to do, and that's really insensitive, and that kind of thing. But that's really funny.
It was always awkward because like I went from like hanging out with them pretty much every weekend, like being at their house. Like I would have like sleepovers at their house, and like completely innocent because it was just like a good friendship.
Yeah,
but like it goes from that to like you have to like kind of like dodge them a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you want to come over? I'm like, I'm busy. They start making up excuses, and I found like a group of like 8 or 9 guys that we all were like into skateboarding and like playing sports together, and that was like my group for like a good solid 3 or 4 years. So they kind of fell. And they ended up leaving the school, so that kind of helped too.
Yeah, that does help.
But anyways, and then after all of that, so like in high school, most of those guys graduated, or they left. I graduated too.
Still there.
Some of them are still there. Some of them never made it out.
That's great.
In fact, the school's not even open, and they're still there.
They're still there, dude.
Hey, you can leave, man. It doesn't matter anymore.
Can you imagine? That would be so funny.
Oh, but and then after is like reality check.
Yeah,
where you're like, oh, all my friends left and went to school or moved away, which I stayed local. So about like 95% of the people that I was friends with, they left and went away for college.
Yeah.
And so that in that time frame, that's kind of where I got more involved in ministry. And started developing friends that way, like adult friendships.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because, when you're in high school, it's very, for lack of a better term, it's very 13 Reasons Why, where everything matters so much. Yeah, and you don't, and I get it because it is difficult for people to zoom out, but in the long and short of it, you start to realize that none of that really matters.
Doesn't.
You know, it's very rare that you keep your friendships from school or your relationships, your intimate relationships, like anything. That's why it's like crazy when I see people that are married to their high school sweethearts, where it's just like, it's great and I'm happy for you, but like, you've never met anyone else. Like, that's kind of insane to me.
How do you know? Yeah, how do you know?
Even Corey and Topanga tried other people.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
one size doesn't fit all. You
exactly.
Mean?
Yeah. It's very accurate.
Yeah.
Relationships are like a beanie. It is one size fits all, but if you got a big head, like there's no
going back. Like,
this isn't really a good metaphor.
No. You're going to need a helmet. Ditch the beanie.
I love this. So when you were in school, did you do anything performance-wise? Did you do any drama or like
I was really into like dressing up like Army Man.
Okay.
And like in the yard here that we're in right now.
Yeah.
there's 10 acres here. People
Yeah.
can't see it, but this is like all land back here.
Yeah.
So I have 2 younger brothers, and we would play back there all the time, dress up like army guys or whatever. And I had like a very vivid imagination, so I could do that for hours.
Yeah.
And then my mom saw that, and she put me in acting classes. And I was in acting classes for one summer. Right over here, there's a little school. I was in that for 3 months, and I just didn't really connect with it.
Yeah.
Mainly because I didn't like being told what to do. I think it wasn't really the acting. I enjoyed the acting part of it. It was more like the memorization of the lines, and like I had a lot more fun. Like just the work side of things.
Yeah.
If I could just do improv, I probably would have been killing it.
Yeah.
My mom put me in there because I was just so active. Like
Of
I was
course.
just constant. And I was doing like impersonations. Like I would watch Ace Ventura, and like for the next month, everything was like smoking or like alrighty or like just constant Jim Carrey stuff. And then once I got into like more middle school and high school, I picked up guitar and started playing guitar. I was in a couple bands, local, like just small,
We have to talk about this.
punk bands and like.
What skate park did you play at?
I didn't play any skate parks. What I played was
really
like downtown Hollywood.
I feel like where every high school punk band goes to die is their first show is always at a skate park.
Like in the bottom of the bowl.
Yeah, at the top of the bowl because they saw the one POD I Feel So Alive video. And like, I feel so alive. And they're like, oh, dude, I just want somebody to ollie off my freaking
And
amp.
like nobody's paying attention.
No
They're
one
like,
cares.
shut up.
Yeah. I can't hear myself kickflip, dude.
It's just like it's just acoustic, just ching, 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 really quiet.
That's great.
One of the first bands I was in was called P Squared.
Okay.
And that was
P squared?
P Squared. So
it
the
was
reason
technically
why
it was pee-pee.
It was pee-pee.
You're in a band called pee-pee. This is so good.
Bro, I wish I was lying, but this is
There's no way you're lying. That's why I love it.
I was in 10th grade. And the reason it was called pee-pee.
Because we started off small and we were hoping we'd get bigger.
we just kept growing.
Right. So there was a guy that was in it.
There was a guy that was in it called James. His name was James Payne. So Payne, P.
Right.
And then a girl. Her name was Ashley Probisco.
Okay.
Who was in my class. So you got Probisco there. So you got
right.
double P. You got pee-pee.
Yeah, you got pee-pee.
So James, he was older than us by like 6 years.
Wow.
And he was kind of creepy.
So he was 30,
I feel bad talking about.
35?
He was. So if I was 15 at the time,
he was 20.
He was 20, 21, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I played guitar in the youth group band, and he led that youth group band. And on the side, he was like kind of like, pulling the members that he like the best players and like making his own like super group.
There is nothing you could say that isn't going to sound awful. The band of the name is Pee-Pee, so he would pull members from the church and
this was not a Catholic church.
Like there is nothing you can do to get out of this.
I told you, as this plays out, it just gets worse and worse.
It just gets worse.
So we only played like 2 or 3 shows.
I'm surprised you played any at all.
We booked these shows down in downtown Hollywood.
Okay.
And it was a drummer, bass player, me, another guitarist.
What did you play? Guitar?
I played electric, yeah.
Okay.
And
rhythm or lead?
Rhythm.
Okay.
I wasn't that good. I don't even know how I made it in the band.
Right.
I don't know how. Like I have memories of being on the stage in that, and it was Club M.
Okay.
It was downtown Hollywood on the corner right there. And I have memories of being in there, and like I still don't know how I got to like who asked me to be in the band,
right.
How I became a part of PP. I don't know.
I mean, you only had one qualifying thing to be in PP.
I don't know. I don't know how I did, but I remember going. I was in my friend Jimmy's car, who I'm still friends with now. He lives in Houston.
Yeah,
he's an amazing guitar player. Session work and all that stuff in Houston. We were driving in his car, and Ashley and her and the rest of some of the other people.
Some of the other PPs.
Some of the other PPs were in the car in front of us, and they stopped short, and we rammed into the back of their car.
Oh no!
So that was the beginning of the gig. Like that just set us up for how the night was going to go.
Right.
So she was freaked out. We were freaked out. Jimmy was freaking out because it was his parents' car.
Oh no!
And then we get to Club M, and there's like maybe 5 people there.
Which in Florida is a really good show.
It's actually a good show for an unknown band.
For an unknown band named PP.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad turnout.
It's not a bad turnout at all.
It was 5 more than we expected.
Yeah.
So Club M is no longer there. And the way it was set up, there's like a little circle stage in the corner. And like that was right off the front door. And then like a bar and like some just random seating and like some pool tables in the back. James wasn't that great of a singer. He was more of a screamer. Ashley, she had a good voice.
Was it like Rage Against the Machine with a pop singer?
Yeah.
Like with a female pop singer?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
So it'd be like kind of aggressive hip hop, and then she would come in with like some
and like heavy
melodic
breakdowns and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like this funky section.
Right.
So that was the gist of the band. And all I remember from that night is being on stage super nervous with my cheap like Squire guitar, just not really know what I was playing.
Right.
We practiced forever, like leading up to the show, and I still didn't know what I was playing.
Yeah.
And then just
turn the distortion up to 10 and that's
there was
all you
no
did.
time limit on this gig. Like they were just like, yeah, come and play. So we were just there for like a long time, and then people just like other people from the youth group. I don't know how all these kids got into the club. It was a bar. We were all underage except for James. I don't know how we got in, but all these kids from the youth group started showing up. Maybe like an hour into the show, this guy in the back, he was like the only person there that wasn't like people that we knew. He was drunk. And I think he was a cop, like off-duty cop.
Oh no!
And he just stands up and he's like, "That's it. I'm tired of this fucking shit."
It turns out that was Bill Burr.
And he literally, he's like, "I'm shutting Club M down. We're closed." And then the bartender's like, "You don't even work here?" And he's like, "I don't care. This band's terrible." Like he was yelling, and then I remember James being like, "There's just a bunch of kids." And then he's like, "I don't care." He started picking up chairs and like throwing the chairs out the front door, slammed the front door for the bar, locked it, and he was like, "It's terrible. You guys are terrible." Like he was like just belligerently,
yeah,
talking to this,
That's
and we were all like
hilarious.
just staring at him like, "Oh my god, is this really happening?"
Yeah.
And then we kept playing.
That's so funny.
So that was that first gig.
What's even funnier is that even wasn't enough for you to say, "Hey, maybe we should wrap it up."
No, we just kept going.
You guys were like, "We just got to keep rocking, dude."
Hey,
even
10,000 hours, man.
Even more so when you're a church band, because you're like you consider that guy to be the devil.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, "Oh man, like the devil's just trying to make our show bad." And it's like, no, it's God saying you suck too.
Pray for you. We're gonna pray for you, man. Sir, let's lay hands. Lay hands on you, sir.
That's so freaking funny, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. And
Yeah.
what other like crappy bands were you in?
I was in a band called Whitaker.
Called Poo Poo?
Pee Pee and Poo Poo. Yeah, it was a pretty good bill.
Yeah.
No, I was in a band called Whitaker.
Okay.
There was an old dude at our church, and we were like, "What are we gonna call ourselves?" And then James was in this band as well.
Okay.
And he always kind of started the bands because
Okay.
he really wanted to like perform. He was like, "Let's just call ourselves Whitaker because that old dude that's in our church. I like that name." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
It's kind of the same feel, like
It is a cool name.
aggressive, like hip hop, rap
Yeah.
with like singing, but he wasn't a great singer.
I certainly wouldn't call that band Whitaker.
No,
Because like
Whitaker's like pop punk. I feel like.
yeah, when you hear the name Whitaker, you would think it's like a piano pop band.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or even more like a 90s drone
Yeah.
kind of like sad melancholy.
Yeah, like a
kinda stuff.
Radiohead kind of
Right, like a
thing.
Radiohead kind of sound, not a Rage Against the Machine, whatever kind of thing.
And that's what everybody else thought as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We only played one show, and then we played at Palm Beach Atlantic University. I don't know how we got to this gig.
How?
Don't know. But
Did they just think that you guys were Mr. Whitaker from Adventures in Odyssey?
maybe.
Like, oh, we're getting Mr. Whitaker from.
I think this was
not
like-
realizing it was a cartoon character.
I graduated 2007. I think this show was like 2006-ish, somewhere in there. So I was like 11th grade, I think.
Okay.
We drove all the way up there, and it was so our drummer, his name was Brandon. The day before he canceled, so James, he could play just about anything on stage. He was a great drummer, good, amazing bass player, good keyboardist. He was like, "I guess I'll just play drums and rap from the drum set." And I was like, "Why don't we just cancel the show?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, we got."
Are you also going to mail in another lung?
I'm like, "My God, dude!" So it ended up being me. Kyle was our bass player, and then James on drums and singing.
Yeah.
So we get there. It's a bunch of college kids.
Yeah.
And like me and Kyle are both in high school. James is the only one that's like college aged. And it was like in a coffee house or something, but it wasn't really a coffee house. It was like set up for like a regular show.
Yeah.
And we were opening for like a touring band.
This is nuts.
Like
to
this
me.
touring band was like legit. Like they had
Yeah.
like a trailer and like merch and like
and they were good.
and they were amazing. They were like and they were heavy. They were like this heavy metal band. I don't know how we got. I don't know how James. I don't know any of this backstory. I just would show up at these things and he'd be like, "Hey, we got practice. We got a show coming up." Okay, cool. I'll practice with you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I just literally played with my head down the entire time. Like I didn't look at the crowd. I was nervous.
Yeah.
I remember having like my hands shaking, and I just remember the crowd. Like whenever I would look up, they would just be like dumbfounded about what in the hell was happening on stage. Because James, it was already weird enough, and then James is playing drums like and aggressively rapping in the back.
Staring at the flames.
He's like going for it, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to be up here.
That's so funny. I love it.
And then the band like we opened for got up there and just like they were good, like demolished. I feel like they were called.
This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by Real Good Foods. I am so excited to announce that Real Good Foods has launched their very first dessert item, ice cream. Real Good ice cream is the first ever super premium better for you ice cream. It's extra creamy, so there's no icy or chalky texture like other light ice creams, making it a real ice cream experience with real ingredients. Only 180 calories and 4 grams of sugar per serving. Real Good ice cream is sweetened by using allulose, which isn't like regular sugar. It's a naturally occurring rare sweetener found in figs, dates, and maple syrup. Ultimately, it has 1/10 the calories of cane sugar, which means it won't spike your blood sugar levels. Real Good ice cream comes in a variety of flavors, and starting today, they can be found at realgoodfoods.com and the Vitamin Shop. And guess what? Real Good Foods is giving all Childlike at Best listeners a discount code that'll make us all scream for ice cream. Visit realgoodfoods.com, choose as many of your favorite items, and use promo code BESTIE at checkout. That's BESTIE at checkout to receive 15% off your order. Real Good Foods. Keep it real. Everybody has their like first. It was like the worst. The first band I played in was a band called Testimony, and the T's were crosses, because of course they were.
Oh yeah.
And our one song that we wrote was also a song called Testimony. And then I really liked pop music in the 90s, and it was all boy bands, so I started my own boy band called Cross Boys with a Z.
Heck yeah.
Dude, it was 5 of us. We sang in 5-part harmony, and by that I mean we sang in 5-part unison.
Yeah. All the same.
we had dance moves that I made.
Heck yeah.
Oh, it was so bad. Yeah, and then I made a like 7th grade or something. I made a pop punk band called Mel's Diner, and and the one song that I wrote was about getting an attention. It's so freaking childish and stupid.
That's so good.
But oh my gosh, it's great. But like, why would anyone ever listen to that? Your first bands are always like the funniest thing to revisit.
That's like the best.
Yeah.
Good memories.
And it's so funny because at the time you think that you're like breaking.
Oh, we're gonna make it.
You're breaking ground and like all these things, and then you look back and you're like, gosh, that was so bad, dude.
Like thank God I didn't break any ground with pee-pee.
That's so good. That'd be so good. And could you imagine, like, even now you're still, like, ashamed to be in the band?
Yeah.
And you play with your head down because you're ashamed of being in the band.
Madison Square Garden. I'm like, sorry.
There's, like, fan Twitter accounts, like Shayne's droopy head. Like,
memes just based on my
yeah. That's so good.
I'm like the Keanu Reeves of the musicians.
Of
They just place
musicians.
me everywhere.
So when you went home, what were the things that you were into? So like television shows, movies. I know you're a book guy, so any of that stuff. Like, what were your earliest influences, inspirations, that kind of thing?
Man, early movie inspirations. I think, like I said before, I was really into Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that he did.
Yeah.
And my parents, My parents were not raised with really any type of religion. So at home, my grandfather paid for me to go to a private Christian school. So without him, I wouldn't have had that education or upbringing. So I would have that at school. But when I came home, it was kind of like all hands off. Like they didn't really care what I watched. So I was watching, Liar Liar. I was watching Ace Ventura. I was watching The Mask. I was watching Major Payne was a big one for me. Tommy Boy.
Yeah, good stuff.
And then I was getting into like horror movies like super young. So
really?
like my dad was like showing me like Jaws and The Shining and like all these like super dark movies. The Exorcist. I saw all those movies when I was like probably 8 or 9.
That's too young.
Yeah.
To watch The Exorcist at least.
That one. I still can't watch The Exorcist.
I'm sure, yeah.
Movie-wise, I was watching a lot of movies that were like way above my age group. And then TV-wise, I was probably watching a lot of like Nick at Night. So I got like I watched a lot of like Laverne and Shirley, I Love Lucy, Wonder Years, a lot of that stuff. Big one for me when I actually would come home from school. Are You Afraid of the Dark was always on.
Yeah.
That was like a must watch for me before anything else. Watch that.
Have you seen it recently?
I've watched. It's on. Is it on Netflix?
I don't remember where it's on, but I have seen it.
It does not hold up.
No, I will say this though. That theme song still holds up as the scariest.
It's the creepiest intro.
It's the scariest 30 seconds you'll ever see on film, I think.
I watched 2 episodes on Vudu. I bought them.
Yeah.
It was like the first 2 episodes that they ever made. Immediately, I was like, nostalgia, first off. I was like, oh, this whole the whole creepy theme song. Second thought was, I can't believe this ever made it to like kids' TV.
Yeah. And how did I not realize they're all Canadian?
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, this show's Canadian?
Yeah, it's so Canadian, dude. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but submit it for your approval of the Midnight Society. I mean, nothing wrong with it. That's great. It's just I thought that they filmed it in Orlando, Florida, like they shot everything else.
I had no idea.
Well, it's like so obvious looking at it now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
It's just when I heard like all that and Double Dare and Kenan and Kel, they're all shot 4 hours away from you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, whoa, like my favorite stuff is like shot right here. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And they don't even use that studio anymore.
No.
Kind of a bummer, man, because like those Nick studios are really cool. Like
a lot of history there.
Yeah, there's a lot of history, and there's like you can at least have tours. The nostalgia train would like it.
I'm sure there's like buildings full of things of my childhood.
Oh
there.
yeah,
like sets
like
and
the big nose from Double Dare is just like there in a closet. And you're just like, what is going on?
You're like, yeah, it's like creepy as hell to walk through there. But
you walk through a closet and like the talking boulder from Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, Jesus.
Finally, I can breathe.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Just close it back up.
Open, please. No. I'll give you Balto on VHS. Dude, one thing that I did notice was those game shows from Nickelodeon. Those prizes are garbage, dude. Like,
yes.
Well, the grand prize was always you would win a trip to Universal Studios, which is hilarious because that's where it's shot. So,
yeah, you're already there.
Yeah, your prizes go
They're basically
outside.
just giving you like free passes for the day.
Your prizes go outside.
Like, what kind of shit is this?
Exactly. It's so stupid, dude. Oh my gosh.
Big show for me. Looking back, I want to rewatch it because it's been so long. But Pete and Pete.
Yeah, dude.
I feel like it was ahead of its time.
I just told somebody recently, if it came out now, it would be out for 9 seasons.
Oh yeah, it'd be like how many seasons did it go? Do you remember?
I think like 2.
Yeah, it wasn't very many.
And even then, I think it was a stretch.
Yeah,
where I think Nickelodeon just believed in it.
Yeah,
and so that's why they were like, but nobody
caught
only like
it.
the cool kids watched it. You know,
Pete and Pete, Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah, dude.
Those are all really good ones for me. Books wise, Harry Potter was big when we were growing up.
Yeah, that was the devil though. I wasn't allowed to read that.
Yeah, my grandpa, who was like the one pushing like a Christian education. I remember reading, I think it was like the first or second book, and I was really into it. And I was in my room, and I remember all like the news kind of portraying it like, oh, this is Satan, the devil. Right. Be careful, don't let your kids read it. It's a cult. And him finding out that I was reading them and like coming in with my mom, like kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, what are you reading those books, boy? I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's just about like, you try, how can you can't sum up Harry Potter in like a sentence.
Yeah.
It's impossible. There's a guy and he's a kid and he wants to be like a wizard and you can't do it. It always just sounds terrible. So he ended up not caring really, but
the irony isn't she like openly a believer?
I think so.
That's like the irony of the whole thing.
I think
right?
so. Yeah, I think the irony is that she is a Christian.
Yeah, and she's like open about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. I believe it. It's just one of those things where it's like there was a time when like some of the world wasn't reading your books.
Yeah,
and you believed what they believed.
Yeah,
so it's like kind of weird.
The ignorance of.
Of course, man. Yeah,
like super right people, like the legalistic.
Right. And not only that, like, you're right, the Harry Potter thing was on the news and things like that. Another thing that was on the news when I was growing up was Bart Simpson is a bad influence to your kids, so don't let your kids watch The Simpsons. Yeah. So I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. Yeah. You know?
That was how I was. The only show my mom ever told me I couldn't watch anymore was All That.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
She just happened to, like, walk in my room one time, and they were, like...
they were all naked having sex.
Going to Pound Town on Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
they were, like...
just regular.
There was some kind of skit. I forget what it was, but they were, like, talking really rudely to, like, an older person in the skit.
Okay. Well,
and she walked in. Yeah, and, like, I remember her saying, like, watching it with me and being like, what are you watching? What is this? I'm like, oh, it's All That. You try to explain it to her, And she's like, I don't want you watching this anymore.
Bummer.
You watched the one skit where they're talking to like an older person. I think it was Amanda Bynes, and there was some kind of skit that she was like yelling at like an old man or something. But anyways, that was the only show, but I still watched it. But there was just like that one time, like I had to turn it off in that moment.
Right. I mean? There's always those shows that you're not allowed to watch that you just find. Anyways. Yeah, you find a way to watch them. You go to the person who watches it house or
exactly
or whatever.
South Park was big for me as a kid.
You weren't allowed to watch that?
I was.
Oh,
my dad loved it.
Okay.
Growing up.
What is going on? Like all that is offensive, but we love South Park in this house.
I have no idea what was happening. It was probably just something my mom got struck in the moment. Yeah, and was like, I don't want you watching that. But meanwhile, I'm like 8 or 9 watching like all the original South Parks.
That's nuts to me. Oh my gosh, dude. That's so funny. And what about like music and stuff?
Oh man. I grew up my dad listening to like classic rock.
Yeah.
So Led Zeppelin, The Who, all that, Rolling Stones, you name it, Bob Dylan.
You kind of, because like this is another thing too, is like, we met playing music at a church.
Yeah, yeah.
But something that is really interesting about you is that, because usually when you play with somebody at a church, they've usually been through the system most of their life. Mm-hmm. And so they're aware of every Christian band that's ever existed. And you kind of dodged that bullet.
I dodged it. Yeah.
Like, the obvious, like, you know who Michael W. Smith is and things like that. But like, if I were just to like say Building 429, you wouldn't really know who I'm talking about.
I would know the name.
Sure.
But I didn't really listen to him.
Yeah, you wouldn't know, like, well, now where you got to find.
I really didn't like, I don't know that one number.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't think you realize how much that song sounds exactly like what I just did.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't get the reference. Yeah. But I'm sure it's accurate.
Yeah, it's 100% accurate.
Like
they straight up stole the breakdown from Higher from Creed. The because again, it's Christian music. No one's gonna listen.
Like I know the names, like Delirious.
Yeah, well, it's technically Delirious because it's with a question mark at the end.
Delirious.
Yeah, so stupid.
Stellar Cart.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
There are some bands that went through the fray because they were good, like Switchfoot.
Switchfoot's good.
Yeah, and Reliant K and bands like that where they got to a point where it's like they're just a good band.
Yeah.
They just happen to be talking about positive things.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
That's kind of how like Colony House is right now.
Right. But Colony House is awesome, dude.
But nobody would probably even know that they...
Well, they don't advertise that they're Stephen Curtis Chapman's kids.
It's kind of like Switchfoot, though, in the sense like they're believers, but they're not really pushing that.
The thing is, though, nobody in Switchfoot is related to arguably one of the biggest selling Christian music artists of all time.
Yeah.
And everyone in Colony House is related to Stephen Curtis Chapman.
I know, which is crazy.
Because
they're amazing.
They're so freaking good. That band is awesome.
Yeah.
And they're like furthest from that like world,
cookie
I guess.
cutter.
Yeah, very very cookie cutter, and like best way to put it is like, it's gonna sound mean, but it's it's like positive music for soccer moms.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's basically what K-Love is.
Yeah, K-Love is very like, it's inspiring, like you're going to get out of this because God, and like, and I'm not saying that that's not true, but sometimes it is nice to hear that someone else is going through the same garbage that you are.
Yeah. I was just telling Jess, we were just talking about Katy Perry, and because she didn't know that she was a Christian artist.
Yeah, before.
Prior.
Yeah, Kate Hudson was her Christian name.
Yeah. But she was like, well, why'd she stop performing as a Christian artist? I'm like, I don't really know. Yeah. But if I had to guess, she either got pushed out because maybe she wanted to sing about something that was taboo, maybe in the Christian realm, or maybe there was some kind of mistake. I
got to be honest with you. When it comes to that stuff, I've heard some stories where just because you're a woman, sometimes they can't market you. This happened to Jessica Simpson, where she wanted to be a Christian artist, but they pushed her out because they couldn't sell her because she had big boobs. Yeah. And here's the thing, dude. She can't help that.
No, like that's...
And that's the thing that's super annoying. Yeah. That's the thing that's super annoying.
Yeah.
So because of something that I can't help...
Yeah.
And look, these are the reasons why I'm so glad I'm not a woman.
Yeah.
It's just the empathy that I have for women, because it's just like... Why should I have to worry about what I wear because of how a man feels about it? Like, why can't I wear something because I want to wear it?
Yeah.
And I completely get you, man. Yeah. Well, you shouldn't be wearing that because like this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, bro, that's on you.
Yeah. I can't control your eyes or what your thoughts are.
Exactly. I can't. Yeah. Like I completely understand. And I'm completely on the woman's side when it comes to that, because it's like, that has nothing to do, that has everything to do with who that man is. Yeah. And that's it. I don't know, man. It's a weird freaking thing. So again, it wouldn't surprise me that the whole Katy Perry thing was very similar to where it was something that had to do with like
marketing,
her looks and marketing, and or maybe she wanted to write about something that was taboo or whatever the case.
Either way, it would all be folded into marketing,
right? Of course.
Like if it was a song that wasn't fitting what was popular at that time on CCM, then can't market you.
Well, and here's to bring it into like a male singer, Aaron Gillespie did like a solo like worship thing, and I forget the name of the label. It's Capital's Christian label. Yeah, and he was on it for a minute. I think he did 2 records with them, and at one point, he was in there in a general meeting. They basically just didn't like what he was doing because he was too honest in his interviews.
Yeah.
Like they would ask questions to him and he would say things like, for example, he wrote a song because he wanted to talk about this time in his life when he was having premarital sex. And so when people would ask him, hey man, what's this song about? He would tell them, that is what the song is about.
Yeah.
Was completely honest about it.
Whoa, too much.
And then people were like, he's like, you asked me what it was about, and that's what it's about. Yeah. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And again, he's writing from a real place. Yeah. That's the thing. That's kind of tough.
It's too real sometimes for it's too real for the mom that's driving to the soccer game.
And he's the person that said the metaphor.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's spot on, which is like basically what they market towards is a soccer mom whose marriage is not going very well. And she's basically in the van listening to you and realizing after she listens to your song that there is hope, and if she prays hard enough, her husband can come to church with her on
everything's going to be okay.
And the truth is, that's not always the case. That's just what it is. Yeah. Like, it sucks, and it's not fun, but that's just life, dude. Yeah. Life isn't really fun like that.
It's not cookie cutter.
Exactly. It's not.
But to say all that, basically I didn't have an upbringing with worship music.
Yeah.
I missed a lot of it.
I mean, you didn't miss much, but
the only band that I really got into in high school was Hillsong United.
Sure.
Outside of that, I really didn't think it was pretty much a wash for me. Like I really didn't enjoy most CCM and most worship music. It was kind of like, it all kind of sounded the same to me.
It still does.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, Yeah, I don't really listen to Christian radio ever.
It's tough, dude. Like, it's tough for me. One thing that has always rang true is that Christian music is usually 10 years off. So right now, everything sounds like Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, and it's just getting to like radio friendly, like pop R&B.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool 5 years ago.
Yeah, the Bruno Mars.
Yeah, Bruno Mars, that kind of vibe. I remember when like Hillsong Young and Free started sounding like Justin Bieber. Like it was like, oh, they're doing exactly what Justin Bieber's doing.
Yeah,
like with like all of the sampling and stuff live.
For the listener, when you sing worship music, there's always words on the screen.
Yeah,
and someone's just like, "Does that say Jesus is yummy, 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 yummy?"
And they're like, Shh, "We're worshiping." Jesus, what does he have that's yummy?
I've always found that so weird, man. There's always like, it's like that South Park episode where it's just like, you guys really love Jesus, and he's like, yeah, but it just sounds like you're in love with Jesus. And they're like, yeah, because we love Jesus.
That's Bethel music, bro.
Dude,
I feel like we might alienate people that don't have any idea what worship music is.
Well, I mean,
but
look, man, and I can kind of describe it, but it's just like for example, you have to admit, it is weird to listen to a girl sing a song called I Get on My Knees and not feel like violated. Violated. Like, this isn't, we shouldn't, like, I know that you mean you're getting on your knees to pray, but like, it's 8 a.m, dude. Like, come on. You know, like, but just to go into our next bit, what were some of your favorite snacks growing up?
Oh, man. When I would come home from school, I would always typically make the Tyson buffalo chicken tenders.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Like, this is a party.
Yeah, get some ranch dipping.
Yes.
And like some chicken strips. Throw on a little Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
That was like a solid afternoon.
You just eat the whole bag of Tyson?
I would down it, bro. No, I'd have like 3. And then maybe go out for a few more.
Okay.
No, that was a big one. I was a big like mac and cheese guy. Yeah. I know it's not really a snack, but like I would just like,
it is for some people.
Like just like eat a box of like mac and cheese Kraft. I was big on like chips too.
Yeah.
So like,
what are your favorite flavors?
I like Pringles.
It's a good crunch, dude.
It's a good crunch.
Yeah.
Once you pop, you can't stop. Pringles, sponsor us.
Yeah, please do. I would love it.
Barbecue.
Yeah.
The mesquite barbecue is my favorite, and then the sour cream onion.
Nice. Those are pretty good staples.
Those are staples
for sure. The pizza one as well for me.
I never really got into the pizza one.
You didn't like the pizza?
I never had it enough. I think maybe.
Oh, okay, that's why.
I always ended up getting the barbecue. It's just I was safe.
Yeah,
I went for it.
That is the safest one, I think, for sure. That and the sour cream and onion are probably the safest. What were your favorite cereals growing up?
Fruit Loops.
Yeah,
was a big one. Corn Pops was a big one for me.
Yeah,
I still like porn pops.
I love porn pops. I gotta have my porn.
Gotta have my porn pops. It's 8 a.m.
So stupid.
You know, my dad would always have the Raisin Bran.
Yes.
And I would always just eat the raisins out of his cereal. And he would get so pissed off.
I'm sure, man.
He'd wake up in the morning, go to work, and like pour it, and it would just be like the bran.
The freaking flakes.
And he'd be like, seriously? I could hear him from the kitchen, and I'd be like in the living room like,
oh no.
And he'd be like, did you eat all the raisins out of the Raisin Bran? I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I did it. I did it again. You caught me.
Good. That's so good.
Golden O's are like, I don't know if you've ever had those.
No.
So next time you go to the store, pick up some Golden O's.
Okay.
I found them later in life.
That sounds like those like whenever you watch a TV show and they're not allowed to have Cheerios.
Yeah.
Because it's a brand.
Exactly.
It'll just be like Oat O's.
Yeah. Wheat circles.
Wheat circles. That's so good. Yeah. It sounds like one of those like
it's not.
Golden O's sounds like the cereal on Boy Meets World.
It's legit. And it's probably my favorite cereal.
Really?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's better than Cheerios and everything?
Yeah.
Is that what you would compare it to?
So it's probably not as good for you as
so what is
Cheerios.
What is it comparable to? Like, what is it actually like?
It's like if Fruit Loops. Well, I guess it's almost like honey Cheerios.
Yeah,
but they're sweeter than Honey Cheerios.
Really? Okay.
And like
with the Fruit Loop consistency.
Yeah, it's like kind of like it's harder. Like they're bigger, they're denser circles. Than a Cheerio.
Yeah,
like they're tighter.
Exactly.
It's a tighter circle.
Yeah, tighter circle. And I know about tight circles. I was in a band called PP.
The circumference of this circle. It's a denser circle. It's a denser cereal. And
that's actually a pretty good idea, to be honest. Why was it discontinued?
No, it's still around.
It's still around?
Gold Nose are still around.
Why haven't I found it or seen it?
I'm telling you, so I was on a trip in North Carolina with my friends, and my friend John, he got these, we went to the store, and he brought back this cereal, and he was like, oh yeah, Gold Nose. I'm like, I've never, like, I was like 25 at the time.
Yeah.
24 maybe. I was like, I've lived my entire life. I've never seen this cereal. It's kind of like what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in supermarkets, Publix's. I didn't know this cereal existed. He's like, how could you not know Gold Nose existed? Like, this has like been around forever. I'm like, I'm living in a conspiracy right now. Tried it, and I've never gone back. Like, it's been a staple in my life ever since.
I guess I got to try this.
I think what happens if you just kind of go past it. Because it's not really something that anybody knows about.
Sure.
You just kind of look past it. It's kind of like a bland, like, yellow box. It says Gold Nose on it.
Right.
It kind of looks like something you would see like in the back of a TV show.
I'm telling you. It sounds like it.
But just try it. It's
I'm definitely going to try it.
It's worth it.
I'm definitely going to try it. So every episode of this podcast, we like to review a cereal. And usually I like to review a cereal that has something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So I went ahead and talked to my sponsors over at Post Cereals. Now, by sponsor, I mean that I like them and I enjoy all their products. And by spoke to, I mean that I tweeted them repeatedly and they didn't get back to me. So the cereal that I got for you is all new Hostess Twinkies cereal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the reason why I got this for you is because at the time of this podcast recording, we're supposed to be quarantined.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be podcasting right now. We're actually doing this for you. If you're listening, we're doing this for you, so you're welcome. So what are the only things that would survive this? Twinkies, dude.
Bro, this is like Zombieland.
Yes, it's like Zombieland, bro. So that's why I chose this cereal for us to review today.
This is going to be good.
I'm actually pretty excited about this.
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
So I'm gonna
I don't think I've ever seen this.
No, I think this is the first time I've seen it as well.
It's new, apparently, because it's new across the box.
Yeah, the moment that I saw this, I was like, oh, we have to try this at least.
Which maybe they're not new. Maybe they've just been around since the 50s, and Twinkies last that long.
And we just didn't know.
The Twinkies, after 50 years, have shrunken down to bite size.
These are actually all Twinkies from 1946. And they just put them all in one bag and call it cereal. So
Thanks,
I'm gonna go ahead and open this box. I don't have a cereal bowl, and I'm not gonna pour this into this 1970s police officer desk.
Lord knows what this desk has seen.
It's 8 a.m. So, but
this
I'm gonna.
desk is patient zero for coronavirus.
Yes. So I'm gonna open this box and I'm gonna open the bag as well, and then I guess we can just hand it.
Help you? Yeah, let's pour some in our hand.
Yeah, we can just hand it.
Eat it raw.
Exactly. Eat it raw. There's nothing you can say
Did I tell you
anymore.
about my man peeping?
Just everything that you say is just like, did I tell you about my band?
I told you about the band I was in high school called Pee-Pee.
Here, I'm just going to take a couple here. Usually the bit that we always do is we like to review the cereal as the character on the box, and there's clearly no characters on this box because, let's be real, Twinkie itself is popular enough. Who needs a cartoon to sell it? I think what we should do is, during this review, we should make a coronavirus survival guide. Okay. But Twinkie cereal is what we're telling people to eat. Let's just do that. I'm going to try to see if I can find some music here.
I feel like it's going to give me a stomach ache pretty much immediately, but it's also kind of worth it.
Like pretty much immediately? Well, the music is playing, so whenever you're ready,
give you a review.
Yeah, you can start your survival guide channel here.
So, if this was the last thing on Earth and I had to survive off this,
exactly,
I don't know what my quality of life would be. Based on the shortage of toilet paper in the world right now,
yeah,
I might be in trouble if I just was eating this because it's not doing already. My mouth is coated in a weird sugary something.
Weird sugary something.
And I felt I had probably 15 of these little nuggets just now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they look like if Corn Pops
jumped in the pool.
Yeah, it's like if Corn Pops got bleached in the sun for like an hour.
Yeah. And
then someone just dusted it with sugar. They're addictive. I keep eating them. But they're not great. But they're not bad either.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10, if I had to survive on this, 5.
Okay.
It's not bad. I could do it.
To be fair, though, I feel like that's how I feel about Twinkies.
Yeah.
They're not the best, but they're also not bad.
You don't reach for them.
Yeah.
When you're shopping, you're like, oh, Twinkies, I need to go. I've never gone to Publix and went for Twinkies.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
But if they're in someone's cabinet or someone's having, hey, want a Twinkie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a Twinkie.
That's awesome, dude.
They just kind of exist in our lives.
They're kind of just there. They're always there. Hostess Twinkie cereal, ladies and gentlemen. It's always there.
It's always there. This package is sold by weight, not volume. That was our slogan at PP.
Was it? By weight, not volume? That's amazing. This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by the Crunch Cup. Save time in the morning by taking your cereal on the go. Simply add cereal to the inner cup, milk into the outer cup, screw on the lid, and you're ready to crunch. Eat cereal in the car, at your desk, or anywhere else you want. Go to thecrunchcup.com to purchase what I think is a genius invention and use the discount code MikeValdes10. That's Mike, M-I-K-E, Valdes, V-A-L-D-E-S, the number 10, to save 10% off of your order. You can also sign up for their monthly giveaway to win a year's supply of cereal. So what are you waiting for? Go to thecrunchcup.com and use promo code MikeValdes10 to save 10% off of your order. The Crunch Cup, it's better than spooning. So I want to move on kind of into what you're doing now.
Yeah.
You have a few singles out.
I have one out right now, which is just an instrumental track. The goal for that one was to I was going to actually release, I have 5 or 6 just instrumental tracks that I was going to make like a little album out of. And then I just got bored because I like writing lyrics. So I started putting out actual songs like with lyrics and singing and stuff.
Right.
And my first single for that drops the 18th of March.
Okay.
So that's
by the time this comes out, it'll be out already.
Yeah, it'll be out. So you can it'll be on all platforms. So you can check it out on iTunes and Spotify and everything.
Yeah. And it's Shayne Long, right?
Shayne Long, yep.
Yeah. Shayne. Shayne.
My mom threw a Y in there to screw my life up. So that project, it's going to be called The First 4 Years. And it's kind of just songs that I've written since I've been married.
Yeah.
And kind of just depicting that whole journey through marriage and love and struggles and trying to find each other and love each other well and all that comes with, and still learning day by day how to handle that journey with my wife. And it's going to be cool. It's got 6 songs on it.
Okay.
First one, like I said, drops March 18th. And then outside of that, moving back into some photography work. That's what we were doing earlier.
Yeah.
Doing some shooting for Mike. The goal with that, I mean, it's always been something that's been in my life, photography. Yeah. I've always had a camera, whether it was a disposable camera or a Polaroid or something. I got into film cameras probably 10 years ago, so I had some older film stuff that I got into and then kind of got out of it because it's stupid expensive to buy film all the time.
I know, yeah.
I want to get back into it, but like I said, it's expensive and trying to convince Jess to let me spend money on film.
Yeah.
But the whole goal with that is just really passion project. So I enjoy street photography. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Shayne, SHAYNE _Ryan_Long. And I post all of my pictures on there. So I do a lot of street photography. I do portrait work for people. Yeah. Just chasing after that.
I wanna talk about your the record that you're releasing.
Yeah.
And so how would you describe the sound to someone that hasn't heard it?
I've showed it to a few people. Some of the 2 songs that are coming out here soon. And one person said that the general vibe they got was like Mumford and Sons meets Pink Floyd meets like Jack Johnson. And that honestly was a compliment for me.
Yeah.
Because those are all three really big influences in my life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe I was kind of going for. So it's a mixture of like folk. I love playing electric. I don't play a lot of electric on this project. My friend Jimmy, who I was talking about earlier, he lives in Houston. He did a lot of the electric work for me. But yeah, the overall tone and vibe is really just chill folk, but kind of psychedelic, kind of country, kind of like laid back, chill, lo-fi, which is my favorite kind of music too.
Yeah.
Mainly because I can be messy.
Yeah.
And like you can leave kind of mistakes in there and stuff. Not saying that I didn't take my time with it, but
Sure.
I kind of like that aspect of like the White Stripes kind of feel where it's like grungy and dirty and not well made, but like real.
And you
aspect.
Also don't know if they're dating or they're siblings.
Exactly. You're
One of
like,
those things.
Is that his kid or his wife or his cousin?
Yeah, I can't really tell. They look like all three. It's real weird.
It's real weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about it.
That's awesome.
It's been
I'm so
a long
excited
time
to hear
coming.
it. I'm real excited to hear it. It's funny because you showed me a lot of your instrumental stuff, and not that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I loved it, but it was one of those things where I was telling you, I said, why aren't you singing in it?
I know.
Because I love your voice, and it would work really well and that kind of stuff. And you're like, I just felt like kind of doing an instrumental thing, which, again, is totally fine.
Yeah.
But the best way to put it is like, if John Mayer came out with just an instrumental album, you'd be like, this is really good, but like, hey, why aren't you singing?
Yeah.
Not that you're bad at singing or not that you're bad at playing guitar. I'd just rather have both of them.
Yeah.
You know, like,
together.
Yeah, I'd rather have it all together because you're good at all of it.
It's the same thing my wife said. I showed her this song, a couple of the instrumental tracks, and she was like, wow, those are really good.
When's vocal day?
I'm like, I'm not doing vocals. Why? Honestly, I think you know this about me. I tend to bounce around a lot.
Uh-huh.
So like I would bounce around from like music to writing short stories and fiction and stuff, and then bounce back to photography, and then back to music.
I'm the same way.
But
dude.
all of that bouncing like takes like a couple months to
course.
get through. So like by the time I'm not inspired by like recording anymore or writing, and that whole cycle happens, it's like 6 months probably until I come back around to like music again. It's frustrating for people around me.
Sure.
Like my wife, I would write a song and she'd be like, "Oh, you got to record it, you got to put it out," and then internally I'm like, I'm kind of getting tired of music.
Right.
I'm getting uninspired by that whole process.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump to here, and outwardly, it almost looks like I don't want to finish anything.
Sure.
But really, it's hard for me to fake it. It ends up being bad music or writing or photography because I'm no longer into it. And I'm like just going through the motions. At first, I felt bad about that. I forget who I listened to. It might have been an armchair expert. He had somebody on there talking about creativity and how it was okay to just own all of that.
Yeah.
You can take your time and you can bounce. You can move around as much as you want because it's your stuff.
Yeah.
It's your creativity. It's your outlet. You shouldn't have to feel like you're guilty or burdened by any of it. So I've kind of just been resting in that for the past like year. And when I don't feel inspired anymore, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna write today.
Well, I think it's different because like this is also the first time in hundreds of years where creativity is something that's monetized and something that people get paid for.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you were to talk to our parents and we would say, hey, so music is our job, they'd say, great, music is your job. You're like, I just don't feel music. And they're like, but it's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. I go to my job that I don't like every day. And so I completely get it, but it's a weird time. I mean, weird in a good way. But, like Conan talked about this on a podcast with Ron Funches, where he was like 100 years ago or something, you know, you'd work on a farm or something and you'd say something super funny and your boss would be like, man, you're so funny. Anyway, get back to work. Yeah. You know, like that's it. Like, that's it.
You're just, you're just the funny guy on the farm.
You're just the funny guy at work. Yeah. Like, that's it. Yeah. It wasn't like, you should do something about that.
No,
like,
there was no doing.
Exactly. There was no doing. There was just, did whatever you did at the farm.
Well, it's like Americana music. Yeah. Like the blues. All those old blues guys, they were like just working on farms singing old like spiritual songs or like writing like work songs. Nobody was saying like, oh, you should go play that bar down the street for money. They were just like, he keeps us like entertained in the field, exactly, or at night, whatever. But there was no like monetary gain, from being talented, really. If you You know what I mean?
And the weird thing as well is that we're also in a time where our generation and younger see that as a career option and as a career goal, when it's one of those things where most of these people that have gotten really big, of course, worked extremely hard and did what they had to do, but never expected to be where they got to. For sure. You know what I mean? So whereas like we're the kind of people that almost, and I'm not saying everyone's like this, but our generation is the generation that feels entitled to be famous. Yeah. That's not how it works. Yeah. One thing that America is definitely good at is picking who the famous people are. Name whatever actor you want to name, because Hollywood will try as hard as they can to be like, this is a movie star. For sure. Like for a few years, Hollywood was really telling us like, hey, Armie Hammer's a leading man. Yeah. And I'm not saying that he's not a leading man or that he's not good at his job. Yeah. But America wasn't watching his movies. No. Nobody saw whatever movies he was in. Nobody saw the Lone Ranger. Yeah. But what America did see was all the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies. Yep. And all the Kevin Hart movies. And that doesn't mean that Armie Hammer isn't good at what he does. That doesn't mean that he's not a hard worker. It doesn't mean that he's more talented than these people, because he probably is. Yeah. And he's probably worked harder. He's probably gone to more classes, acting classes than they have. He's probably better at memorization, whatever. But sometimes it just works like that. Like it just, it's a game. Yeah. Like it's a weird game that you can't control. And really, the only way to win the game is to be happy with what you have. Yeah. The temptation is to look at everybody around and be like, oh, they're so much further along, or they're so much better. But I think just settling into the fact that everybody's gone on their own journey and their own pace is really where you find the most rest and freedom. There's enough success in the world to be had. Yep. And just because one person is successful doesn't mean that you lost your shot. Exactly. At the end of the day, we're all taking the same test. Some of us are going to be done faster than others. Mm-hmm. And some of us, even though we're done faster than others, will still get an F. Yeah. And some of us take a long time, and then we get an F. And then some people take a long time, and they get the best grade in the class. Yeah. Just keep your eyes on your own paper, and just deal with what you have to do. Work as hard as you can, possibly. Mm-hmm. Yourself, you know your own limitations. You can't control the outcome. And trust me, dude, when I say things like this, I'm definitely preaching to the choir. Because, like, when I'm in the moment, it's hard for me to remember these things for sure. Me too. But you should not be comparing yourself to other people. Yeah. If you're going to make a comparison, make a comparison to yourself and say, was this better than what I did yesterday or 5 years ago? Yeah, you keep pushing. Or whatever. Which is why it's so important that we can tell these stories about being in a band called Pee-Pee. Oh, yeah. And laughing at it now. Mm-hmm. Because we know I'm a way better musician. I'm so comfortable on stage now, and I can play. I play the guitar better than I did, or I write better than I did, or whatever. And that's what separates us from the people that are constantly talking about that one pass they threw when they were in high school. Yeah. You know, where they were like, oh man, you know, I threw the game-winning pass for that game that completely doesn't matter to anyone but me. Class of 07. Yeah, class of 07. Here we go. And it's like, dude, it's 2020. Yeah. Like, what's move on? Reminds me of Just Friends. That movie, Just Friends. Yes. Like, one guy in the bar, he's like, class of 95. He's like, I heard a quote recently, which kind of ties into what we were just talking about. Yeah. So a photographer that I'm really into right now, his name is William Eggleston, and I think he's like 84 or 5 now, but he's primarily responsible for bringing like color photography into like the mainstream art world. Before that, like fine art photography was like just black and white, and then he started shooting color. And I think it was like the 60s, early 60s. His pictures, if you look them up, they're not like anything spectacular. Like they're just like everyday life. His most famous picture is a picture of like a little tricycle, like a little kid's tricycle out in front of a house. And I think it sold in auction like for like $4.5 million or something like that. And somebody asked, I was watching an interview, it's on YouTube, like this whole documentary. The interview asked him, like, why do you decide to shoot what you shoot? And he's like, well, when I was growing up, he grew up in Memphis, there was nothing spectacular in our town. It was just kind of boring life. Yeah. And he didn't feel inspired to do anything. And he was like talking to his friend who was a photographer and explaining like, oh, you know, there's nothing here. I don't have anything to shoot. Everything's really boring. And his friend was like, well, then just go out and shoot the boring. Yeah. And he was like, I should just do that.
I think like we get so focused on like what everybody else is doing, and we miss like everyday life, and we miss all these opportunities to like grab hold of things that he found an avenue in the boring and everyday life. He found his niche just in doing that, and I think that's something that as artists we can so easily like, oh, what's popular right now? Hashtag this, or what can I chase after? Kind of draw on this and kind of jump on the coattails of that, or writing styles or genres or music and photography. And I think if you just kind of get outside of all that and just look at life and your life and what's around you and just go after that, whether it be through photography or music or whatever, and just really look at what you can hold on to that's true to yourself and chase after that. That's where you find your freedom, I think. Yeah,
it's very similar to, it reminded me of Tom Wilson, who's an artist, and he's an actor as well. He played Biff in Back to the Future. And he's an artist, and he does pop art. Have you seen his stuff?
A little bit.
Okay. So his stuff, in my opinion, is pretty genius. To the naked eye, it's like boring and mundane, but the more you look at it, the more you start to realize how much heart is in it. Like, for example, he did a exhibition for Disney. And one of his biggest pieces that sold was just a piece of a 45 record, just a vinyl, right? But the more you look at it, you see that the vinyl record is for the song "It's a Small World." And then you start to think, oh, that's the record that they play every time I go on that ride. And then it just brings back this like childish like
nostalgia
and all this nostalgia and memories of you going to Disney World. And it's something so minuscule. And you're just like, oh my gosh, man. Like, that really brings me back. I have to have this. Like that kind of thing. Another one that he did was, I don't know if you remember this, but when, that time, like when you're like 3 or 4, when like fire trucks are just the shit.
Like,
they're like,
there's fire trucks and dump trucks.
Dude. Fire trucks were the best.
Like, I'm going to be a fire truck when I grow up.
At a second, from 3 to 4, that is the highest demographic for fire trucks.
If you're like that at any other age, there's something wrong with you. But 3 or 4, prime fire truck. And so he has, I mean, dude, I don't even know how big it is. It's like the size of, I would honestly say it's the size of this hallway. Like the wall. It's like, it's really long and wide. And have I told you about my band Pee Pee? But it took my words out of my mouth. I was getting ready to say it.
but it's
that was the name of our second album.
Right?
It's long and wide.
And so anyway, it's this really ginormous piece of art. And again, at first glance, it's a fire truck. It's a Tonka, like a Tonka fire truck, shiny. Like the top of it is like super shiny, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the fire truck that I remember. And then like you look at it more. The more you look at it, the more you start to see that there's like some paint that's chipped away. And there's like, and you're like, oh dude, like this reminds me of how I would play with my fire truck and just like beat the living crap out of everything with it. And like you can see some of the paint from my Power Ranger on here, and you can see some of the paint from my wrestlers that I would throw against it, or like whatever it is that I did. Dude, there's something so special about people that can take something that seems, air quotes, boring, because it's truly, the more you look at it, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
I'll have to look it up.
Well, and I'm assuming that that's what this photographer does as well. Where the moment you see, which is why that a picture like that could sell for so much, because you can see that that tricycle and say, "Oh my God, that's the tricycle that I had when I was a kid."
Exactly.
And then you're like, "That reminds me of being home," and all this stuff. I have to buy this.
I have to buy, because in the background is the house. It's a driveway and like a bike, and at first glance when I saw, I'm like, that's it,
right?
But then you look at it, you're like, oh man, I think I had a tricycle kind of like that. And the driveway kind of looks like that. And then you're like, man, my house.
So what's the name of this album that you're coming out with?
First 4 years. First single comes out the 18th.
Okay.
And then the next single will probably be some point, probably late April. And then I'm looking to release the actual whole project by summer. So probably June or July, the whole project will come out.
Awesome, man. And where can people find you online?
So online, you can find me on Instagram. Shayne So SHAYNE_Ryan_Long. That's my main one. That's where I upload photography work. My website's on there. You can find all my music on there. So that's really my main one. And then I'm working on a website for my photography right now. And once that's up and live, you can find a link for that on my Instagram too.
Yeah, and I'll also put all these links in the show notes as well for anyone that's listening and is interested. For me, you can find me on Instagram at Mike Valdes, on Twitter at I am Mike Valdes, and you can go to whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been an episode. Thank you so much for listening, and tell your friends so we can grow this family. Bye, besties! That's it, dude.